Tim, on the token, on the RSA token, what about those that do not have CalPERS devices? And then what exactly, is there a way to do like Outlook does and send a text and enter the code?
Just to confirm, I want to make sure that I can be heard. Can you hear me okay, Mr. Perez?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. And my apologies. It seems anytime I'm involved in any sort of demo, there's always a technical glitch. So that's bad. It's an on time, so I apologize. Yes, to answer your question, we'll be working individually with everyone through BSU to determine the best course of action to enable the soft token. We will not have the soft token in place as a requirement until we've worked out all those details. It's a lightweight application that can be installed on any mobile device. It doesn't. I believe it would not need to be a state-issued thing. It's not exchanging any sort of data from a business perspective. It's just sending you that one-time code. But we'll also have the one-time passcode text option as well. Although we endorse the soft token where it's randomly generating a token as it's more secure.
So I didn't catch it. So if someone uses a city computer, I won't be able to authorize it and have to use a mobile device of some kind?
No. The soft token is designed to be a mobile application that can sit on any mobile device, whether it's a state-issued, company-issued phone or a private phone. It's basically just generating codes every 20 or 30 seconds. Very similar to the way if you have a token issued to you by CalPERS, that same concept. That's the endorsed or the recommended approach, as it provides a greater sense of security because you actually need to have that device physically in order to see the code. But we will provide OTP or one-time passcodes to be generated via text or possibly email in the event that the mobile device need can't be met.
Thank you. And then you mentioned push notifications. So is that going to be every time I log in, it'll come up, hey, these new audits are done, or there's an update to board governance or stuff like that where I have to actively either read or dismiss that?
It would be the intent is to have two methods in doing this. One would be upon login, you'll be notified of anything that's been updated or changed since your last login. The other one would be as content is updated, if it's a significant enhancement, new content or significant changes, then you would be notified via email that an update has been performed to Insight with possibly a summary of what that is. And we're working those details for communication out with BSU as well.
Slick. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Perez. Seeing no additional requests to speak on this item, so we do have, I had a note that we had a request to speak on this item, Ms. Hopper. Oh, before you go, I see Ms. Oliveris stated that she has a question. Ms. Oliveris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In getting back to the Insight tool, I wanted to see if in our feature roadmap, if we were going to have the ability to look at the value of the funds, in particular with updates to public equities and fixed income on a monthly basis.
Anne, are you comfortable answering that question?
Thank you. Sorry, I'm on the old using the telephone. Dan Bienvenu is also listening into this, so I want to make sure that I'm not stepping over the line on the information. We want this platform to give you all the information that you need for your oversight role in a timely way. So, Dan, contradict me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
The moment post performance on the website. Sorry, Marcy.
Yeah, I don't believe Dan's on the line. Today, the way that we communicate out the fund value, we do provide that daily on the website, and are planning to put that into the Insight tool. Asset classes, I think the current refresh of the asset class values are at a quarterly level because of the three
month delay in our private equity assets, but we'll talk with Dan and the team about what is the frequency that we would be able to provide to you all through the Insight tool. But if you have any questions today about fund value, you can go out on the website. That number is updated on a daily basis as long as the markets are open.
Thank you. And then on Insight, in terms of access, in addition to 2FA, are we going to look at authenticator apps so that way if someone happens to lose their device, they're able to still access the tool without having to go through the process again?
So the implementation that we're doing for two-factor authentication, the mobile device is the authenticator application. That's what's generating your code.
No, I understand that. So you can get like a text message with the code, right? And then you use that code. But there are also authenticator apps that you can use so you don't have to rely on that being connected to a particular phone number and then getting a text. And so that's what I was wondering.
The recommended path we're doing is the authenticator app on the mobile phone, which does not require any sort of cell connection. It's generating those numbers. It functions as a soft token, and that is the recommended implementation.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I see no additional. Wait a minute, Mr. Perez, you have another question?
It's really the same one. So can the 2FA app be downloaded to a PC, not just a mobile device?
I'm a little embarrassed to admit that I don't know offhand. I believe that is to be doable. We'll definitely explore that. But again, while we're advocating for the authenticator app solution, we don't want the implementation to be prohibited for someone gaining access. So we'll work to come up with options that are as secure or as secure as possible.
Thank you, sir. Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Perez. Okay, so I'm seeing that a note that we do not have anyone to speak now on this item. Is that correct, Ms. Hopper?
Yes, there is no public comment for board governance.
For this item. Okay, thank you. Okay, then, so thank you, Mr. Taylor and Ms. Simpson. That's an information item. We'll go to now 8B, CalPERS process for addressing harassment allegations. Mr. Jacobs.
Yes, thank you. This item is an overview of CalPERS's processes for handling harassment allegations against CalPERS board members. It was precipitated by a presentation to the board at the January education session. Can people hear me? Let me pause for a moment. People okay? Good, great.
Yes.
Presentation at the January education session by the three legislators regarding how the legislature had recently adopted procedures for handling allegations against legislatures, staff, and members. That policy is attached to the agenda item as attachment 3. So some members of this board wondered how we stack up against those policies and procedures. As this agenda item recounts, our primary policy for handling allegations against team members is the harassment, discrimination, and retaliation prevention policy. That's attachment 1 to the agenda item. And this policy has been in place for many years. In March of 2018, the committee and the board approved the addition of language to the board governance policy, making clear what had been implicit, that the policy for team members applies to board members as well. And I'll just read it to you. It states, prevention of harassment, discrimination, and retaliation. CalPERS has zero tolerance for harassment and discrimination of any kind based on any protected characteristic. Board members are expected to vigorously and visibly promote a harassment-free and discrimination-free work environment throughout CalPERS. Each board member will periodically confirm in writing that he or she has read and will comply with the then current CalPERS harassment, discrimination, and retaliation prevention policy. recognizing that this was good as far as it went, but it didn't deal with how the board would handle allegations of harassment against board members. That's because board members are rarely CalPERS employees and hence would not necessarily be subject to the processes in that policy for how to investigate allegations or what to do about violations. The board asked management to work on that sort of policy or enhancement. And that resulted in 2018 in the adoption of what's called the Policy for Reviewing Allegations of Board Member Harassment, to specifically address that hole in coverage. And that is attachment 2 to the agenda item. So then the question is, that has been raised, is how did CalPERS's policies compare to the legislature's? And as recounted in the agenda item, while the wording is a little bit different, they basically cover the same things in much the same ways. Attachment 4 to the agenda item compares the two institutions' processes in this regard, and it demonstrates what I just said. The scope of the policies is very similar, as are the complaint process, the investigation procedures, and then the procedure for taking corrective action is quite similar as well. The determination of that ultimately being for the respective institution. In the case of the legislature, that would be the relevant house, that is the Senate or the Assembly, which has the responsibility for determining whether the policy has been violated and the appropriate response. Are we still on?
Yeah, I can hear you, Matt.
Okay, just saw a bunch of, I saw a panel of the yellow or orange triangles, as the case may be. In any case, the relevant House, Senate, or Assembly has that responsibility for determining whether the policy has been violated and the appropriate response. And similarly, in the case of the CalPERS board, the board decides on the appropriate sanction if the investigator finds a violation. I would note that both institutions have, that is CalPERS and the legislature, have constraints about what they can do with respect to members. And an editorial comment, both seem to do the best that they can in light of those constraints. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, I see no questions from the committee members, so I just want to thank you for this work. And as we probably will realize that as time goes on, there may be other opportunities to make changes to strengthen our policies around this issue, because our ultimate goal is to make sure that our employees feel that they're coming to a safe work environment. Because they have alluded to concerns about that in the past, and so that's why this effort was initiated. And some of the things that we are doing is that in the Finance Committee meeting this week, we did urge candidates for the Board of Administration to indicate whether or not there has been any sexual allegations against them, so that their constituents who is going to be voting for them would have the background information when they make their decision. So again, I want to thank you for bringing us to this point, and we will continue to pursue and look at ways that we could strengthen this policy to make sure that our employees feel that they're coming to a safe work environment. So thank you very much. Okay, so that concludes the item 8B, 8C, summary of direction. Mr. Jacobs?
I don't believe we have any direction.
I think you're correct. Okay, then public comment. Has the person withdrawn their request from public comment, Ms. Hopper?
Yeah, we have no public comment for this committee.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and thank you all. And this meeting is adjourned, and we will start the Board of Administration meeting at 10 o'clock.